boogie about 10 till. So we'll start with some of the reports. Ambulance, we've got a report here from you.
So the board has the report in front of them. As far as July 1 is pretty on par for last year. Call volumes pretty much equaled out. We saw some in June, but it kind of evened out in July. Our dispatch en route remained under a minute. It's not on this report, but for some reason this month, the majority of our calls were actually between the hours of 11 p.m. and about 6 a.m. The rest of the numbers are pretty on par. We had an uptake in the treated and refused or just left assist calls this month at 50. On your second page, you can see most of the patients went to Paris this month, a few to outlying facilities. You will see the Adrian County Jail is now listed as a destination. We did that so if we do a treated and refused care for an inmate, we have that option now where they will automatically get a copy of our report. We click Adrian County Jail and it auto faxes to them as part of their new policy. So whenever we do that, they've got that chart within usually an hour of us being there for that inmate. We did have a staff member test positive for COVID. He was off for his required time. We did have a slight lapse in coverage this past Saturday with going down to 2 trucks. Everything worked out well. It was kind of a low volume, call volume day, so no issues arose from that. There is a contingency plan in place should that happen again, but fingers crossed it doesn't. We are definitely seeing an uptick in COVID cases, of us encountering COVID cases. I'd say we're transporting at least one a week and seeing them almost on daily now, so. Any questions for me?
They refuse transport, you still charge them?
If the patient isn't loaded in the ambulance and the wheels move, there is no bill. Say to bill, they are required, by the way the law is written, the wheels on the ambulance have to make a full rotation before we can send them.
I was taken to Terra, I had good service, really appreciate it.
Glad to hear.
Anybody else? I should have probably done something first. I'd like to introduce Lisa Ellis. She is here today for the first time. She is a candidate for the board district number 2, which is on the agenda for voting on Wednesday. Lisa, nice to have you with us. I got her some information. I've met at least once so far, so at any rate, I just want to make sure. Yes, sir.
I'm gonna get out of here if you guys have any other questions.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Derek, I know you probably got a lot going on, so is there anything you want to let the board know at this point?
Well, first, just what Adam brought up about that refusal, that was the agreement, and we worked that out so that, because oftentimes we wouldn't get the refusal sheet, or we would get it a few days later, and we want that, you know, something I talked to the insurance company about, and talked to Sam McCarty, because I know in Vermillion County, Champaign County, any place like that where there's treatment done either on the scene of the arrest or at the jail, we have to have that refusal, you know, to accompany those guys before we'll accept them in the future. And that way we don't get, something doesn't happen later on. So we work that out to where the guys can just email it to straight to our jail. And it goes to me, jail administrator Woolman, and it goes straight to the booking room. So we have that paperwork as soon as within a few minutes. So that works out well. That was a new thing we implemented, and it worked out well. I had a meeting this morning with Shiloh, again, with school officials about the school resource officer position. And we're plugging away, so.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask you, Aaron works hospital, we discuss that once in a while, and he's excited about the process and they get things.
Yeah.
Been working on it for a couple, 3 years, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Is the repopulating of the jail working out okay?
It is. It's not a smooth road. It's a little bit of a bumpy one, but we're getting there. It's just, we unfortunately have a correctional officer whose daughter, has got a fever. So we don't know if that's going to lead into another case where we're going to have employees off because of COVID. I don't know.
Okay.
So it's just getting people in place and making arrangements and picking people up. I mean, but it's working out pretty well so far. We haven't had any glitches.
Any other questions of Derek at this point?
I met a couple of your jailers. Who's a real big one? I mean, I wouldn't wanna mess with him.
Well, let's see.
About 6'5", about 250.
That's probably gonna be Lane Stevens.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Lane.
Saw him at the Main Street.
Yeah.
Talked to him a little bit.
And you'll be seeing more of him because he'll be over here working more as well in that courthouse.
Okay.
You know, off the top of your head, how many inmates you got?
None of
Less
us,
than 10?
less than 10 right now. Got less than 10. And we do have arrangements, we're making arrangements with DOC to pick up theirs. Hopefully we'll be able to transport those and get rid of those 5 guys here within the next week or 2.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
According to the paper, you took them down there and
Yes.
did they first say they'd take them and then once you got?
Well, I'm not sure how that, I think some other counties just loaded up and took off and they got ahead of us in line and yeah, we kind of had an agreement, but, you know, we talked about it and I understood their position. They could very well walk by a van of 10 to take our 3, you know, that was gonna start out, you know, so. And I think the same thing happened up at Statesville as well, so, you know, Rankin County worked out an agreement where they were supposed to go on Thursday and then they switched it and they took one Friday. So we talked to Graham down there and they said, yes, we'll take your 3, you know, on this date. And I think they've got to move people around, so, yeah.
Yeah, and we are not the only county having that issue from what I hear.
Oh, absolutely not. Like I said, we were 6th in line down there and, you know, we're like, come on, can you help us out? But Vermilion County had 33 total,
Oh, Jesus.
so, yeah. So we were not by any means our 5. And it's a small part of the problem.
Any other questions, Derek? Andy, I see Mr. Good is here, so if you want to go over that briefly.
Okay, tell us where he is on things.
Thank you, Derek.
Yep.
So the initial renewal for Blue Cross Blue Shield for the plan that renews in October came out at an 8.16% increase. And then I went back to them and they came back with 5.
You got 2 more. You got 1 more.
21. And then we got it down to 1.85% increase.
See you.
That's, lowest I could get.
What was the,
The initial was 8.16.
I heard that, what was the last
And then came
number?
back to 5 and the last one 1.1.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can see your current
Yeah,
I
rates,
handed it to
renewal
you,
rates.
and you went that way.
So,
I'm gonna be out there. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
yeah,
A zoo going on at the same.
yeah, so this one here shows the 1.85.
Right,
And then
right.
you got your expiring rates and then your new rates.
We can deal with that a lot better.
yeah.
And so
Is
basically,
that,
you know, the plans,
Go ahead. Go
same
ahead.
plans, same plans and everything.
Same plan, that's
Yeah.
my question, no changes in the plans.
We were pushing for getting a final, so going into our meeting next week, we know what that was.
Right.
Okay.
Is that about normal for a family? I mean,
Yeah, that's,
$200 for a family.
all groups I have, your
That's amazing.
children and then your family rates are the ones that are a little high.
That's more than what they make, man.
Yeah.
Jeez. Man, I'm glad I'm on Medicare.
Right,
Well, we'll look at this, but
Okay.
I'm sure we're pleased
Yeah.
with what you were,
Right.
what you did.
yeah,
And, we just needed to talk to our folks
Okay,
about,
yep.
so we could, for budget and everything else, this does not go into effect until October.
correct, yep,
October
1,
October 1.
yep.
Now, we ask this every year, somehow for the deductibles, everything else, we'd sure like to wind up with the January 1st sometime.
Yeah, that would be they would renew your policy for that 3 months and then it'd be a January. So if they did that, you'd have to accept the rates that when they refigure your renewal for January 1, whatever those rates are, I mean, there's no going back and say, we want it in October.
All right,
So,
well, we'll just have to work on
Yeah.
that. All right.
Is there any other company that would bid on our insurance?
Just be Health Alliance. That's why two really work well in this area.
That's all, yeah, that's all we got.
I mean, United Healthcare, they're not
A lot of
competitive.
people are, I mean,
Health Alliance.
Health Alliance. Do you do much with Health Alliance?
Yep, yep.
Blue Cross Blue Shield's cheaper than Health Alliance?
You know, it's all in the, Blue Cross has been pretty consistent on here on the renewals, you know, Health Alliance, you know, it all depends on the group, every group's by themselves, so to say that Health Alliance would be more competitive, you know,
Right.
it'd be hard to say.
Do they, like, I
Yeah.
have two options for teachers retirement. Health Alliance will not allow me to use Terrell doctors. Would that be true if people here take Health Alliance?
They've been working on their network, Blue Cross definitely has a more expensive
Yeah,
network,
right,
you know, so.
What doctors doesn't Health Alliance?
Health Alliance will not allow me to use Terrell doctors.
Well, allow you use Terre Haute.
Yeah, I can't use Terrell doctors,
Yeah.
if I had Health Alliance.
Right,
So that's where all my doctors are, so.
right,
so
Is that Carl?
That's part of it.
yeah.
I just wonder if Blue Cross here is the same way. If they would have Health Alliance in this county, could they go to Terre Haute?
You know, they have been working on it, you
I
can
know you
go,
got PPO and you got. an
yeah, you got an HMO and they got the POSC,
Right.
so the POSC and the HMO are where you have a primary care physician and everything's gonna be referred to them, and then they do have PPO, and they have been working on their network to get more Indiana.
That's what.
Yeah.
I guess when we start the union negotiations, we don't know what the union proposal's gonna be.
We'll know here on Thursday.
Right, but I guess if they come up with wanting something different can come to you to say, well, this is maybe an option we might wanna look at?
Yeah, there's so behind, you mean as far as with Blue Cross?
Yes.
Yeah, on the back pages are all the alternative plans that you tweaks your deductible, your co-insurance, your prescription cards.
Okay,
So there's a whole, and we can go, you know, if you guys,
Not yet.
if they do have questions on, you know, we can fine tune it, look at different plans, yeah, that's no problem.
okay, well,
Yep,
I figured they might have some proposals that
sure,
might wanna make some adjustments.
yep.
Okay,
Yeah, so this way we can say, well, if you want a lower deductible, these are our
Right.
options.
That's why we wanted, that's what my reference was to next Monday, so we have
Right.
something there
Yeah.
that we could discuss with them and still have time, because we have to send out all this stuff here, within a couple weeks?
Yesterday.
Yeah.
Hey,
So-
do you have an extra copy of that for me, or if
I
not, could you
can shoot
email
one,
it?
shoot you one over, yep.
And we need to shoot one to Lisa too.
she's got one, I gave
You know
her.
what
You
this
can
number,
have,
right?
you can have this one if you want it, Augie.
Well, does it have COVID on it? I'll take it.
Probably.
Mine would, so I'd be right, we'll get mine.
To that, thanks.
Okay,
All right.
if you guys have any questions, let me know.
Okay.
We will.
Have a good day.
Andy and Carl, what time, Thursday works best for you guys? 9 or 11 on a conference call with Rick for negotiations?
11 for me,
11?
or 10 or 11.
10 state, so that's why I said 11. Okay. All right, do you have anything health department wise, et cetera?
No, I don't know if they get the chillers in and all that working. I haven't heard anything. We
I
have a
just-
meeting next week, so.
I got
This
a,
one.
email from Chuck, and they're waiting on a SIM card for the system. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah, I know what a SIM card is.
Yeah, and they're still waiting on, I don't know what the hold up, why it takes so
Something
long.
about they borrowed, how can you borrow a chiller?
So,
Said something in the notes.
they borrowed a chiller?
Yeah, I don't think you can't borrow one, can you?
Well, no,
I mean, those things sat outside, a big chiller.
maybe they borrowed the
It's easier to borrow if it's sitting outside.
brains to make it work, but.
That's what I said in the minutes.
Okay.
This one. No, other than that's fine. Elma shelter's fine, the road is really great, I mean, I appreciate the, fixed all the potholes in it,
Is it
it's
okay?
really nice.
Did they have, at some point, somebody wants some weeds killed out there, but Mike never got back with me.
I didn't hear this.
I don't know.
I'll call Andrew about it. I could do it, I have to.
Well, yeah, okay.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll call him and do
Yeah, find out what we
that. Okay.
need. Andy, do you have anything to that?
I get, now, Mike Hennis will be, he called me, talked to me, I believe it's 21st of, this month. But then Ray Cordy called me and talked to me, and Mike goes, do you need to interview Ray? And I'm fine with Ray, I think he'll be great.
Do you know what we're talking about, Carl? Okay, I just want to make sure.
I think Ray would be, Ray goes, I said, no. Mike said he'd have him come in a couple days, work with him,
You
show
know
him
what
things.
we're talking about?
I have no
I'm
idea what
sorry,
you're talking
Mike
about.
Hennis is leaving. He's got a full-time job someplace. I'm sorry, I thought you knew about it. It's hard to remember who was at what meeting with who, but,
Yeah.
and, so Mike said, he goes, hey, I was talking to, I just mentioned to Ray Cordy, and he said, Ray said, hey, I'd be glad to take over there for you.
You know, Ray,
And I thought Ray would be great.
DOC maintenance guy out here and then up at Danville, and he's retired.
Yeah, he's downstairs on security days.
Yeah, he does that too, yeah.
So he said he'd take over. Mike said I'll go a couple days, show him what he needs to do. And he goes, if you got any questions, he can always, Mike goes, I talk to him on a regular basis anyway. So he says he can call me anytime and ask me any questions. I thought that was a great fit for,
Yeah, and the sheriff was there when we were talking about it, and he's, oh,
So
Yeah.
when's Mike's last day?
I believe it's 21st. Is that a Friday? 20th, 21st?
Is a Friday, yes.
Yeah, that's gonna be his
Okay.
last day, and Ray will take over. So he'll be with him a couple days, and they'll show him what he needs to do. So. I did get an email, but I haven't had a chance to respond from someone from Sycamore that wanted to come and show and discuss maintenance on some of our equipment. But I may know something more by Wednesday. But, so as far as the health department, they're just waiting on that SIM card, then I think that will wrap everything up with Smart Law at that point. They'll have everything. How's the air conditioner been working good, Augie?
Yeah, in my office. it's been
Working damn well in here.
I know it is, but
It's cold right here.
I was thinking it
I'm
is.
down here.
I'm gonna set it,
I have another question. Can, 11 o'clock on Wednesday after the board meeting work? Can we get a committee, can we get it posted in time to have a committee at 11 o'clock of the sheriff's negotiating committee?
Sure.
Okay,
Where do you want it? Right.
right here. It'll be right after the meeting.
So we're doing it Wednesday instead of Thursday?
Well, that's what he asked. Well, then would you rather, we can still do it on Thursday. Thursday's fine. Carl, say.
I really don't want to do it Wednesday, because if I'm at the meeting, then
It's fine.
I got stuff to do.
No, that's fine.
blows the whole day.
Yeah.
I'm fine. That's fine, Carl.
I guess, another question, Andy. I know we had to have someone that's kind of coordinating this whole heating system and understands it. Who is that person? Or did we get anybody?
Sycamore is supposed, and I don't know if they've done it yet, and that may be part of what I need to discuss with this guy that wanted information, wanted to meet with someone, probably me, but they can do almost everything with this heating cooling system remote.
Okay,
That if anything goes, and they certainly will be, during the warranty period, which is first year,
mm-hmm,
they will be hooked to it, and if anything anything goes wrong, it automatically dings to their computer or some guy's phone, and he knows something's wrong before you ever even realize
I
things have
just know
changed.
that originally we were said that someone locally need to be that person, and I didn't know whether it was Mike Hennis that was that person, or,
I think that was the talk at the time, just to
So-
have somebody on site.
so maybe if we're gonna have Ray be the maintenance guy, maybe he
I
needs
thought that
to
same thing, that's why I wanted to,
be the, know what's, kinda understand what's going on.
and I've got Ray's number, I may get a hold of, he would be the one at this point to talk to about that.
Right, yeah,
Since Mike's leaving, there's no sense in teaching Mike for
Right.
2 weeks.
right.
But if this guy's gonna set up, I don't know if Ray's doing anything else, whether he could come in and
Mhm.
say, hey, come on in, I'm gonna show you what you need to know about this system.
Yeah.
But I'll talk to this, like I said, I just got the email, I noticed it came through like probably Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to do it Thursday at 11.
When I talk to him, I'll see if I can schedule it, maybe have Ray there with us.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
All right, well,
Andy, is he gonna be, I'm sorry,
that's fine.
full-time or part-time?
He'll be part-time also.
Part-time?
Right in the middle of the
It's one of those
meeting.
deals,
You need to
if you
call me
need
back.
something,
Okay,
if anybody needs something, let him know.
Sure.
And because I don't think Ray, I think Ray can do anything.
Sure.
So if you need something fixed, or you need something, just kind of let him know, and I think he'll be glad to do it.
okay.
So,
John,
I don't have anything.
you and I want to talk about the farm deal a little bit.
You can go ahead and lead on that if you want.
Well, you've all been sent a copy of the proposed but not final wind farm ordinance. It shows, like this, it'll show changes, both plus and minus, and then what's left of the old ordinance. What we're doing is we're taking an existing ordinance and making changes to it. As you're aware, or may be aware, we have not had a change to that ordinance for 10 years. And from standpoint of technical aspects of the industry and so forth, that's what John and I have been working on with Aaron. And for example, I'll just give you a few the changes so far. For example, is we're asking at the time of the application that $1,500 per tower up to a maximum of $75,000 be used for permit fee from the company proposing the siting, and that that is a non-refundable fee. Where it really gets into important information is siting. Siting is an issue for a lot of the industry in protecting the owners of properties, whether they're actually active in the farm or not active. So we're working out distances from towers that affects flickering, noise, aesthetics, transmissions, etc. For example, towers would be set back a minimum of 1 time from the tip height from all public roads. That's being changed to 1.5. And a lot of these things can be waived by written agreement if the board so sees fit. We're working on heavily on the diameter distance for people that are not part of the project. In other words, non-participating property owners need to be offered protection from the rotor diameter, and we're working on that. For example, Vermillion County right now, I think is at 1,300 roughly.
somewhere around there,
Yeah, but there's also lawsuits up there. One of the things you have to consider, and I mean, we're gonna go in more detail on this with you. But we don't have zoning, Vermillion County doesn't have zoning. So a number of landowners, and I can't tell you the exact amount, are suing the county for restricting use of private ground by limiting them to the amount of space of setback. Okay, so we need to be cognizant of that. But setback is a big issue. Flickering, we've got specific things which we did not have, didn't even address flickering. And what flickering is especially wintertime, when the sun is setting and we're low, and how the blade makes it flicker when you're looking at it. And that can be very distressful to homeowners and so forth in the area. Another one is noise.
They make noise?
Oh, yeah.
They've been close to them.
Yeah, And we have, in fact, a lot of literature, and Lisa and I talked about that, they're finding that 32 decibels is passable and infrequent where there's a problem. Ours divides it from, during the day, they can, just to put it simply, they have 35, and at night from, I think it's 8 or 10, I think it's 10 o'clock on, they can only be at 30.
10 to
How do they
7.
do that? Pitch the blades or something?
You know, it's a technology,
Okay.
please, we're not experts,
Right.
we're listening to other experts talk, we're looking at other ordinances and going off of that. And then, you know, there's a lot of stuff out there, if you go online, put up wind farms online and you're gonna find all kinds of stuff.
So they have any trouble with the wind farm north of Newman? Any complaints about that one?
I have no idea at this
I
point.
mean, there's a lot of tires.
Right, obviously, we know they've had a great deal of problem
Yeah.
with the sighting and vehicles coming in and out on the roads and townships and the road use agreement. And that's an issue and that's in here. I'm just trying to highlight a few of one of the big things that we did,
I haven't looked at all this. Is there road use agreement stuff in here?
there is, we have to have that developed when they would apply for it, okay?
Yeah, we say there has to be a road use agreement, but this ordinance doesn't specify.
Okay.
What that is.
Yeah, it's not a road use agreement, it's
Right.
just saying that we have to
Have
arrive
to
at
have
one.
one.
It has to have one that's
Yeah.
acceptable to the county. And remember, we have the vote. Just because we have this, first of all, they have no eminent domain. It's not like they can come in an area and say, you're gonna have a wind farm. Number two is that the board can reject a application that does not meet the needs of this county, okay? And one of the things, we've suspended any applications until we have the new one. If we don't come up with new policies, we revert back to the old use agreement, and that is not acceptable in my view.
Right.
One of the big flaws in our old one was the decommission. There was virtually nothing in there, and it was the responsibility of the landowners to save up or save whatever portion that they felt in case a company defaulted or pulled out and didn't do anything. And one of the big things that we put in here is how they clean the sites up. In other words, I think it's in Vermillion County and in Iroquois, they take the concrete down 4 feet, we're at 5 or 6 feet. In other words, so that, and talking about tile, talking about long-term lines that are going underground, all of that stuff is addressed in here that wasn't addressed in the first ordinance. And I'm not attacking the first ordinance back then and 10 years ago.
Just different equipment.
Yeah, I mean, it was, you know, they've gotten bigger, we have more experience with how they affect humans and the farm, and this is to try to recognize those issues and deal with them. We have a meeting on Wednesday, again, to start, especially to review, John and I do out at the highway department, to review how we are affected by non-participating setbacks. So that's what we're gonna be dealing, and technical aspects of how big, what might be coming to this county, et cetera. I also wanna tell you that I've talked to one of the wind farms that is working in the area of Brockton, the Horace Brockton Road, and at this point, they don't see any application forthcoming for 2 to 3 years. But that doesn't mean something else couldn't pop up.
That's the two we talked about, one north of Kansas and one north of Brockton. That's what?
That's all the same one.
Oh, okay.
Okay, there's another one way north of Chrisman, up around Elisa's area, that we have to be concerned about, okay? Anyway, I just wanted to hit it, let you know we're doing things. You know, we had thought maybe we could get it done this month, but it's just not practical. And Wyatt's here from the Farm Bureau. We've consulted with the Farm Bureau, their attorneys have looked at it and are gonna once we finally hammer something out here, I'm gonna ship it to them. They're gonna look at it, there are other folks that are gonna look at it. I mean, we are not experts, I wanna assure you, but there are folks out there that we can talk to that have experience, and if they're not experts, they're close to it. And remember that this ordinance can always be amended, so that it should be reviewed more often than every 10 years, but, you know, that's just what happened. So, at any rate, any questions? John?
Well, I was just gonna tack on the one thing, we'd hoped to have it ready for this Wednesday. But the one group we haven't talked to really, and we're going to try to, is on the setbacks, is the wind farms. You know, what do they think the requirements and is reasonable? And, you know, it's valid to hear their side of it, and we've heard the other side, and not saying we're gonna do what they say, but then they may have a better idea of what's coming up in the future than the counties that have dealt with it. You know, the Farm Bureau, you guys have dealt with what's going on, they probably have a better handle of what could be coming down the road.
Yeah, I mean, they can, but as many times as these companies do change hands.
Yeah.
that's, you know, I would take everything they have to say with a very large grain of salt.
I plan on it.
So
Yeah,
that's-
we're a step ahead of you on that.
That's where I kinda, you know, clench a little bit is, like, you know, what they're gonna tell you can change in 2 weeks. I think the one that we're currently dealing with, I think they've changed names 2 or 3 times.
That's Orsted.
Orsted, yeah.
Is the
And it
one.
started out as
Orsted.
Lincoln Clean Energy, so.
Right.
And
LCE.
your
Yeah.
point is very well taken, and I'm very much in agreement, but still out of fairness.
Right, no, I
Yeah.
completely understand.
It just as important is to see whether they were talking about 100-foot blades, 75-foot blades, 120, 220, we don't, you know.
Well, I can tell you the ones that are there in Newman, those are the biggest that I know of in the country.
And what are they?
They're 11 foot shorter than the arch at their apex.
Don't they,
I'm pretty sure that's,
don't they bring those
Look at
blades
it,
in?
put one under the arch,
Old
that look
blade
kinda
one
pretty.
time,
it looked
have to
different.
use the roads.
That's why a road use agreement
Oh, okay.
and timing is
How they make,
extremely,
how they make the turns?
well, see, they adjust the radiuses on the roads.
Oh,
They'll have to pay crop damage and.
Yeah, they'll build up the roads, you'll have to be as stringent as absolutely possible.
It's gonna
Overly
be-
stringent with it. I know that Douglas County was worried that, you know, they built up these roads and they made the ditches so steep that if a grain truck goes down the road and has to get over, or a combine, that they were gonna roll that thing. Thankfully, nothing happened, but that was one of the worries that they had in building up these roads.
amazing. Why couldn't they bring in pieces instead of one, the whole thing?
They do bring them in pieces. but
Oh, do
these
they,
are-
even the blades?
No, blades.
Blades.
Blades are in one piece,
Right.
and then they bring in
That's what-
sections
I
of
got
the
behind,
tower.
I
And
got
that
behind
has to
2 or
do
3
with
of them on the road
integrity.
one day.
That has
You
to
don't
do-
want your blade coming in half,
Right.
Right.
spinning around
Right.
because they didn't bolt.
Well, yeah, true.
I do know that they cannot get off the Tuscola exit because it's got the loop to it, so they have to go all the way down to Arcola, and then they come up 49, and they have a guy that sits there at 49-36 to shut down the road to get them
Yeah.
to where they would need to go.
It's a heck of
Yeah.
a trailer.
Okay, well, at any rate, it's not a simple, just, we'll slap in some new figures and we'll be good to go. And we're working on it, and it may be next month, it could even be October, but we're gonna get there, okay? And we'll take you with us, all right?
Still a
Let's-
possibility of a solar farm south of Kansas. I mean, that has really nothing to do with us. It's gonna be on private property, but somebody was talking about that last year,
Yeah.
solar farm.
Yeah, I have not heard hide nor hair from any of those
It was
folks
a
lately.
private.
Yeah, well, but they,
private farm.
I think at one point I did get a call saying, what do we need from you?
Yeah,
Okay, so, any questions on where we're headed, Wyatt? I appreciate you being there, and I didn't stand you up.
Nope, you're
but,
fine.
hopefully you
Whatever you guys
understand.
need, just let me know.
Okay, our meeting is set for, I'm sorry, John, do you have anything
Nope.
else? Okay. Augie, do you have anything that you need to discuss? How was the reception to the postcards? Or whatever they were?
We're starting to get them in, so we have a lot more applications coming in via our website, the URL. That you can apply for that online, click the submit button, an email comes to me, and so I don't have a number count for you, but I will Wednesday morning, I can tell you, but it sure seems like we're on pace to far exceed what we've ever done vote by mail.
Can I ask you, I was gonna ask you in person, but may as well go on public record because he's probably not the only one. We got the postcards, I was talking to my son, who is supposed to go back to college and is thinking there's a real good chance that they do and they'll get sent back. So since he's not really sure what address he is necessarily going to be at come election time, if he fills out the application for the vote by mail and you send it down to school, and then school's shut down and he's not there, it means he'll be back here so he can vote in person. I assume the vote in person ballot would trump an application, yeah.
Right, we mark the system, and if you voted, then you voted, that's
Yeah,
it.
that's what I assumed.
Regardless,
but
yeah.
He was all concerned, I told him I'd follow up.
That's your only vote you're gonna get.
I'm hoping my wife will vote for me, I'm not going to.
Sorry, John.
All right, on my list, we're set for 11 o'clock. Augie will get it posted on Thursday. We'll probably meet over in the other office and we'll do a conference call with our attorney, okay? On our preparation for negotiation. We have our first negotiation session a week from today. I can't remember the time, it's probably around 10. We'll get you that information. Budget, Augie received all the blank or set up budgets for the different departments this morning. We've got a letter ready, so I'm assuming that'll all go out to the different.
It's already gone out.
Okay,
I did this morning.
that's fine. Let's see, the CURES program, which is the federal grant that I talked to you about the last meeting, that we have roughly $260,500. I went online to a seminar on that, and an instructive one, to find out what we were eligible for. And the payroll system is set up to identify roughly $95,000 at this point that we certified for this morning. In fact, one of those pages was to say that we certified for that. Now, that does not include the health department. They have X amount of dollars that they can certify for. And all of that is open through the end of the year and has to be billed by, I think it's January 31st. So at this point, we're submitting roughly $95,000 for the COVID portion of that 260. I don't know when, they say this, they'll just have to see how soon they can process it. CURES, insurance, we got through, taxes. Oh, yes, Don sent out the first distribution of taxes. I think it was a week ago Wednesday, and we received roughly $175,000 in general fund, and the other funds received a proportion of what they had coming. All the school districts and everybody got their tax work. Airport, fuel control on the project that was just completed was done by an uncertified, in case you hear about it, an uncertified contractor that was hired by Foyt's. They're in the process of hiring or getting somebody in to recertify the system. We got 29 days to get that done, and the clock started about a week ago. So that is supposedly not at our expense. That would be somebody else's expense, and that's being taken care of. The new project, it's gonna be iffy whether that's approved for the grinding and redoing of the current taxiway. May not be done this fall, it may be this next year, but I'll keep you posted on that. Let's see, budget wise, we talked about that. Or any, Lisa lives up in Prairie Township, and she has been recommended by the Republican Central Committee to be our representative from District 1. She and her husband are agricultural people. Lisa's been very active in ag education, specifically with 4-H and some other projects. Did you want to say anything at all, Lisa? I don't want to put you on the spot. She works for the hospital, and she's administrator of billing. So be nice to her, maybe you're gonna catch a break or something.
I always say I'm the person you shouldn't know past that job.
I got one in the other day and I wrote a check right out.
There is a pecking order for where you sit also. You'll have a side seat.
I'm gonna stay here.
Yeah, right where I'm at.
Right here's gonna be your seat.
That's where Derek.
Yeah, this was my old seat,
Yeah,
back when.
we moved him out.
Yeah. At any rate, it's nice to talk to you about everything, and, given that, everything's positive on Wednesday, we look forward to serving with you.
Thanks. I had said to Jeff and the others I'd spoken to that I'm a very big proponent of continuing education, and so if I do something, I jump in with both feet. So Jeff's committed to doing some of that with me.
Okay? Anyway, there's a lot of positive things going on, and so we'll look forward to this next month. At any rate, anybody have anything else that they need? Yes, Carl, please.
At the 911 meeting this morning,
Oh, yes.
Troy, we were talking a little bit about the ambulance up north, and Troy brought up that in his opinion, the county board ought to think about naming an ambulance board of people only from that district to kind of run things, so to speak, oversee it. And this is his personal opinion that he's expressing, that when we did the contract down here, that people that were not in that area were making decisions, and he felt like that the people that need to be making decisions need to be represented only from the area that's affected. And he just wanted to pass that on to the board.
He and I have talked about it.
Yeah.
I still think that Derek could, quite frankly, be
Well,
an
and,
advisor. I think everybody, and I've already asked certain people if
Right.
they'd be interested in serving up there.
right,
And I think it should be pretty much 90, but if you've got somebody that's been through it, they could guide,
Right.
help guide.
but I also thought he was thinking that once it's established, an ambulance board not the county board.
I don't know whether the law allows
Yeah.
that.
We don't have an ambulance group, do
Yeah, we don't, we
Well-
haven't had one for,
And, we talked about it, I can remember when this was all established years ago, there was an ambulance board, and I think there was one or two county board members on the.
Dale Evolution, well, he wasn't on the board, but,
Right, and some other people that were overseeing it.
yeah, we can figure
You
out
know,
what
just
works.
something, he just wanted to pass on for us to think about.
Okay. Well, I'm sure I'll hear about it again, but,
But it was just it wasn't the 911 board, it was just his personal opinion.
yeah.
We used to have one, didn't we? When,
Yeah, back when
5
we were
years ago,
running
yeah.
it and, Bergen,
Burger, right.
yeah, there was an ambulance board.
Right.
And then we started bidding it out, and that's,
It was before Bergman, wasn't it?
yeah, it was
It's quite,
before.
yeah, that was, yes.
Yes,
It was when it was first established, I don't know what year that was, the Special Service Ambulance System.
87, I wanna say.
I don't remember.
Anyway, it was
Long time
quite a
ago.
while ago. Well, and I don't disagree with that, but to get things going, need to consider, we don't wanna reinvent the wheel either. But once it's going, I don't know whether we can have a board or not. And I don't know how would that question that I would have, how would they, I mean, if we have a contract with a private entity, what would be the purpose of that board?
And I think it's working fine the way we've got it.
Yeah, I mean, it's something to consider, I hadn't thought about that long-term, but,
Well, actually, you'd have, in a way, two boards, because we would have a lot of responsibility up there, plus.
we could get,
They would just be an advisory.
Right, and I-
Something like the airport board.
Which
I
doesn't
just-
do much anymore. But I'm on that, I've never met.
Yeah, but, yeah, they just come to us with suggestions, basically. Here's what we
Yeah.
think you need to do, and
Where I would see the value of having that wouldn't be in the running, but when it comes to renegotiating, cause assume it's a 5-year contract. And I assume that's what they're looking at. I could see in 5 years from now, when they're getting ready to bid it out, having a group of people that live in that area, wanting to have more say on it. Because, you and I down in our districts, I'd have no clue how well it was working what we had done, but on the interim, I don't know that there'd be anything to running it.
well, I think it's a point we should consider.
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay, absolutely. So, appreciate that. How'd the rest of the meeting go? Are they starting, I know they've started work to make the conversion, but I don't know where they're at, so.
They're having problem getting people in to do the work.
Just
And-
like we always do.
Yeah, they can't get people to commit to the time, but she is pushing forward with it. Said the sheriff was dragging his feet.
That's neat.
And,
Yeah,
but
I'm sorry.
she's moving forward and pushing, and they've got the rooms cleaned out, and they've got, sometime in September, the people are coming with the furniture, and then later in September, they're coming with equipment. And if they don't get it done by then, like the equipment people, they can't come back again till December. So she's pushing to get stuff done, and she had another question. She's got a kid that was doing some internship down there, McCarty boy, and they were talking about how they were gonna pay. He was gonna do it for nothing, and the board felt like they ought to compensate him some, and they was talking about how much they were gonna pay him, but I said, if he's an employee using, there's other costs involved with workman's comp and all that, and they had no idea how to do that. So I guess they maybe need to talk with you and Dawn and see what, whether he has to be put on as an employee, contract, I don't know how to handle that, but
Gotta be one or the other, and they can't pay him, just lump sum without having something.
right.
How much are they gonna work him?
I don't know.
Well,
See,
it's-
that's what.
He's put in 6 hours, but he's gonna come in and, like, they've got a company that's gonna come in and put tile down, and they've gotta strip the floor off, and he's gonna come in and do all that. And, it might be a total of 40 hours, it ain't gonna be like he's gonna be working for the next month or two.
Yeah,
That's basically what it is.
Subcontract.
Right, trying to come up with a
But
letterhead.
then he's gotta have insurance. You can't just have somebody coming in and working without insurance.
Right.
So that might be a detriment. We had a situation where somebody paid, somebody that came in with a,
Yeah.
gift card.
Yeah,
and
that,
I'm going, no, you don't do that.
Well, now, like, when Bob Wilson came and did the work over here, how was that, does
He was
anybody
a
know?
contractor,
And
and he did produce insurance,
yeah.
Okay.
okay?
Well, for no more hours than the young man's gonna have, he's probably not gonna go get insurance.
Well,
Can
if
you
he's
hire
under
him?
6 hours, $600, it makes a big difference too.
Right.
He needs to talk to.
Yeah, more than $600, we're gonna send it to 1099.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
I will get a hold of Nanette and have her get a hold of you and Don's office
We're
and
paying.
see how, what has to be done
Yeah.
to do it.
anything else to come before the study session this morning? Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Dan moved, Andy seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay.
Warm up.
I'm gonna go.